fucking game. Oh, there it is. We're live. What's up, wrestling fans? We are live. I
We
may
are
be
live
tonight because I don't live in a tree in the forest anymore, but I still have internet connectivity issues.
Doug, we hope that you can stay with us throughout the duration of the broadcast. We'll keep our fingers crossed because our main event topic tonight is hot or not.
Well, right now it's kind of warm in here, but my internet service is not that hot right now.
So we have our first call out. Not hot, Doug's internet, but
yep, my ISP not hot.
We will, as he is now demonstrating by freezing there for a few seconds. So this is
already freezing. Oh
no,
man,
you're back.
I'm sorry.
You're
back. Been doing this all day. Again, it's made cloud gaming very hard today. Had an awesome game of Sonic Colors Ultimate going on with my 6-year-old. Completely froze multiple times. It's been one of those days.
Well, let's see. Let's see how this. Yeah, first world problems indeed. Right. We're going to talk a little bit about other folks having first world problems, people still employed, but maybe on the outs with management, or maybe management not seeing in them what we, the wrestling fans, see. So we are in our main event topic tonight, Doug. We're doing a little bit of hot or not across the wrestling landscape. This one isn't specific to any particular promotion. We're just going to talk in general, whose stock is up and whose stock is down and why. And if we know the reason why, of course. But before we do that, where's the bell?
There we go. All right. It's the little things. The live like bug up in the corner of the bell. It takes very little.
Hopefully you'll continue to be entertained as you freeze and pixelate and we go through a little bit of news. How about that?
Let's do it.
So, Doug, following up on our recent coverage of the last few weeks on the random name generator in WWE working overtime and overheating on us, it's continuing, my friend. In a digital exclusive on WWE's website, Katie Catanzaro over the last week was promoting an upcoming match with her partner, Caden Carter, and announced that she was now going to be Katana Chance, which is an awful name. Catanzaro was using her real name, the name that she made as the winner of American Ninja Warrior. It would make all the sense in the world to continue using that name. Apparently not happening. Joining her, the Grizzled Young Veterans are now apparently going by their tag or their last names only. And they're now Drake and Gibson, and no longer going by the Grizzled Young Veterans or using their first names. And there was somebody, and I didn't write this one down, but the Friday night I was watching SmackDown and noticed that there was somebody else, and I can't recall whom. But so if you're out there watching, folks, and you know who lost their first name, drop it in the comments because, Doug, it's getting ridiculous.
Okay, so I don't understand from a marketing point why you would completely strip people of their work to build and to you, because it's like machine entertainment. That's the way it was prepared themselves and have a character that I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at the point you're making. I'm laughing at the look on your frozen face and your digitized voice that went from old man rant into just R2D2 there for the last like 40 seconds. Doug be all like, what I don't understand is bleep blort, bleep blort. It was just kind of funny. No idea what you're saying, bro. While Doug allows himself to buffer and apparently catch up with his with his thumbs, we'll move on to other perplexing WWE news. And I say perplexing because Kushida is apparently done with WWE and NXT, and will probably be heading back to Japan. This is per Fightful that made this report. Big star in Japan, Kushida, super talented, was never really presented as a major player on NXT, much less elsewhere in the WWE universe. He never graduated beyond NXT, and they didn't give him a fair shake there. So hopefully when he returns to Japan, settles back in probably to New Japan Pro Wrestling, hopefully he gets the respect that he deserves, because that's one that never made sense to me, that Kushida was used the way that he did. How about you, Pixelated Doug?
I'm still pixelated. Frozen.
Yeah. How about I just go into the next news item?
Oh, this is bad. Oh, okay. Damn it.
So let's talk Peacock. Since this is what Doug's Peacock apparently does to him most of the time. Let's talk Peacock and their arrangement with WWE. I know obviously it was under much scrutiny when it was first announced, and we can all wax nostalgic about how much easier WWE Network was as a standalone. What is harder to debate by far is the success of the partnership, as far as on both the Peacock and the WWE sides. But Content Intelligence from Diesel Labs is reporting very, very high key growth figures for the recently completed WrestleMania 38 event, for Peacock viewership as compared to last year's WrestleMania event. WrestleMania 37, while it drove a higher audience lift than WrestleMania 38, and by lift I mean more folks becoming subscribers, it's important to keep in mind that with WrestleMania 37, the WWE Network had just made the switch to Peacock. So all those million plus WWE Network subscribers were, of course, coming over to Peacock. However, in an instance like this, what we're seeing is that compared to other events in 2022, the only thing that garnered more lift and subscriptions for Peacock was the 2022 Winter Olympics, and that was only by a percentage point. This should really excite Peacock, because they saw a very dramatic rise in engagement, especially new engagement. WrestleMania year over year was like there was an 18.9% increase in engagement versus the WrestleMania previously, and 71.9% of the WrestleMania 38 audience were new engagees this year. So you're talking about other Peacock subscribers and or people on a trial of Peacock that were checking out WWE material maybe for the first time. Obviously, some of those can be rolled over and probably converted into paid subscribers. So it is proving to be one of the bigger draws that Peacock has, is the relationship and the millions of dollars they paid for WWE rights.
So I'm not sure I'm pixelated or if I have more to do right now. But my ISP actually did send me a box. It's a big box that apparently I can get Peacock for free if I hook this box up to my airwaves. So I'm supposed to replace the cable box because I cut cords a long time ago. So I could probably drop my Peacock and stream it through my ISP, which of course we're seeing that I want to pay ISP. So I wonder how many people fall into that, because I have a pretty big national ISP. Yeah. So I wonder how many not new players, we're not playing legends right here, new subscribers are coming with things like that, where they kind of get grandfathered in for here's a cable box, you can get this stuff free now because you want our service.
Yeah, I'm sure that there will be other folks in that situation. A lot of ISPs provide perks, and if you can get it for free, why the heck wouldn't you? I mean, obviously, Doug, you've had your problems with Peacock in the past anyway, so why not try it for free? It couldn't be any more problematic for you. It'd probably be a similar experience, and you wouldn't be paying for it. But
this is very true. The experience probably would be very similar, and the roughest thing I have to do then is change from HDMI 1 to HDMI 2. Then, so.
And as far as you being pixelated or not, yeah, you're freezing, but we can understand what you said. I mean, those of us who speak Doug speak, because it was very auto-tuned, but I caught of everything you were saying.
I'm working on some placements, so I may have left the auto-tune on in the also. Whoops.
It's T-Pain Doug tonight on the other side of the screen here. Doug, next news item, follow up on last week's main event topic, and that being, of course, Ring of Honor. But Ring of Honor TV last week was apparently the final week of Ring of Honor television, at least as we currently know it, as having existed on Sinclair. So presumably those agreements are running out, and whatever happens from this point is whatever Tony Khan brings to life in his new incarnation of Ring of Honor. But the last vestige of the old Ring of Honor, and that was the shows that they were still continuing to air on Sinclair, which were mainly just recap programs of archival old material, which honestly has been great because it's been so much of the classic Ring of Honor stuff. But apparently that part of Ring of Honor is now officially gone and by the wayside. So let's see what the future for Ring of Honor brings. Excited about that. Doug, speaking of excited, this will excite you because this is proof that someone at least is watching the Two Bros Wrestling Show and listening to your ideas. But in case you didn't catch this news item, well, one, FTR is about to be managed by Bret the Hitman Hart. No, this is not Tully's replacement because this isn't happening on AEW television. It's happening on the independent scene. FTR is going to be joined by the Hitman at the Big Time Wrestling event in Webster, Massachusetts on June the 10th. But did you hear about who their opponents are, Doug?
Yes, I did. My tag team that I've been trying to push for quite a while.
So obviously someone else has the idea that Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson need to be a legacy tag team together. And I don't see them beating FTR in this instance, especially since Hitman is managing them. But it could be the start of what might end up being a beautiful friendship, Doug. Who knows? It might end up coming to pass.
I'm telling you, we break up Steve Blonde. Nothing against Griff Garrison. Here it is, man. It's booking 101. Legacy.
And it is happening for anyone close enough to Worcester, or Webster rather, head on out on the 10th and let us know how it goes. Few comings and goings to talk about here, but Caleb with a K, also known as Caleb Connor, is done with Impact Wrestling after 2+ years. It was an amicable parting. In other Impact-related news, the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers, is going to be doing a little side gig with the NWA. The Impact Star is now set to face the former NWA World Champion Nick Aldis at the NWA's next pay-per-view here in Kentucky, coming up in about a week. And so a lot of forbidden doors in other houses, I guess you could say, swinging back and forth, which leads me actually to my final news item, Doug, and I'll just ask your opinion on this.
By the way,
nice segue. Thank you.
Nice segue.
Thank you, sir. And I'm hearing you now too, pretty clearly. So fingers crossed that continues.
Let's hope.
But the big announcement that Tony made this week, obviously, he had us glued in, almost announcing a week in advance that it was a huge announcement. And what came to pass is the Forbidden Door pay-per-view announcement that is taking place in June in Chicago, I believe, if I recall the city.
Yes, sir.
But it's New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW. Doug, what did you think about the announcement? Obviously, the final product is going to be amazing, but that kind of announcement for a pay-per-view event, was that worth the hype of a huge announcement?
I think that was very much worth the hype of a huge announcement. And you have the Undisputed Elite and the leader of the Bullet Club making the announcement instead of letting the corporate guys do it, which I thought was a very nice touch, and much better than letting Tony or the president of New Japan do it. I thought it was very, very well done.
Okay. Well, I did not know that. Obviously, it was one of the things we speculated about, and it ended up coming to pass, and it should be a heck of a show. It's just that Tony has so many of these huge announcements. You just have to wonder at what level do you have an announcement or promise a huge announcement? I'm kind of torn because like I'm super excited, but I was also thinking that maybe a huge announcement was something with more permanence, more like and now we have a streaming platform, or now this is where you watch Ring of Honor, or, I have signed away Roman Reigns, or like, I mean, something, not that this isn't impactful, but it was so for the one night thing. And I don't know, I'm torn. I'm excited, but I don't know if it's a huge announcement.
I think that Papa Khan is still working on his Carney skills, and everything is a huge announcement. I mean, unless he's buying like Impact or New Japan or something like that, which at this point Papa Khan could do.
So. I mean, we've made it known that, make us an offer and you can have this if you want, right? You can call Doug whatever you want. We'll change his name to anything you want, Tony.
Absolutely. We can call me Tony Doug.
Hey, no, Doug, you'd like that way too much. And with that, Doug, what do you say? Why you are actually able to be understood and are moving around on our screens? Let's fingers crossed get through this main event.
Let's do it. Let's go to the main event.
Where we talk a little hot or not. Because there is no real treading water. I mean, if you're either up or you're down, and that can sometimes change on a dime. So, Doug, I say we go back and forth with hot or colds, and I'm going to just start with who I think's the hottest act in all of professional wrestling right now, and this is low-hanging fruit, but Cody Rhodes, hottest act in the business, took his currency from AEW and upped it into a main event level face on WWE, probably the top face on Raw right now, which we had, debated going in like, all right, Cody, how are they actually going to treat you once you get there? And I have to say, there's nobody bigger on the Raw brand, and they're treating him like a big deal. Cody Rhodes stock way up.
Absolutely. Cody's stock is way, way up. I just fear for Cody's future because I understand he has the most complex contract in all of wrestling history or something ridiculous like that. But I wonder how long his heat lasts, I really wonder, because WWE is very bad with long-term storytelling. I can see, and I think it would be great to lay out an angle that stretches over a year. And it would be great to push Cody to be that person that finally beats Roman Reigns and takes the title. I think that would be great. I think it has to happen at WrestleMania, though. And I think it has to build because he has to make good on those promises he made at the Raw after WrestleMania, where he's getting that belt for his dad. I just don't know if that happens.
Well, only because you mentioned him, I'm going to go ahead and say Roman Reigns. I mean, you give him the big win at WrestleMania after already owning WWE for over a year now. And you put Lesnar shoulders down on the mat. Reports are that management really aren't right now sure where they go next with this. Who really is the legitimate next challenger? How can you make anyone seem like a legitimate challenger to someone you've had so dominant? But there is no doubt about it that WWE for the last year and a half has been all in on our tribal chief.
All in on the tribal chief, absolutely. And I have to say, so am I. And since let's just keep it in the family. Let's say all in with the Usos as well, because I really see the Usos, unifying the tag team titles at WrestleMania Backlash. I see that happening. I know that'll be a future show where we do our predictions there, but. I'm going to call this one right now. Usos unite those tag team titles. They're hot right now as well. The entire bloodline smoking hot right now.
Well, give us somebody who's not. Who's on your not list? Who's cold as ice right now?
Who is cold as ice right now, man? I think about this. I want to say Sammy is super hot because he's coming off of a lot of comedy stuff at WrestleMania. He has an angle this past week, but to me, the comedy stuff just doesn't cut it, man. I'm not into that comedy stuff. I mean, I understand that wrestling has to be a little bit for everybody, but I'm saying Sammy not so hot in my opinion.
So I'm going to go for my first not pick. Just because I mentioned him earlier, I will tie it into someone who's hot. you have two bulls that are going in there, and one's going to walk out on top, and the other one has to take a pinfall when they don't normally take many pinfalls. And Brock Lesnar doesn't take many pinfalls. They obviously picked the tribal chief over Lesnar, and Lesnar's not been seen on TV since. And obviously he has one of those unusual relationships with WWE where he can come and go. And I'm sure when he comes back in, it's not going to take very much at all to forget everything that happened and heat him right back up. But for the time being, you have to say that Lesnar does not seem to be factoring into anybody's plans. And maybe, he's just heading back to the ranch to take a couple of months of, Cowboy Lesnar time. But I mean, I was enjoying the happy Lesnar on camera. I hope he comes back and gets worked right back up to the top of the card. I wouldn't even mind seeing yet another match with Roman himself. But for now, Lesnar is person non grata in WWE land. They don't even mention him hardly.
This is true. They really don't mention Lesnar, but they tend to do this. Lesnar comes. When Lesnar does lose, he doesn't lose anything. Whoever defeats him gets a huge rub, but he really doesn't lose anything. I'm not sure. I guess right now he's not hot because he's not because he's gone. He's gone right now. You could probably say the same for Bayley right now. Talking about hot, not hot. Here's somebody who was, kind of suffering, I think, a little bit with the character with Bayley that we remember. I know she's been out for an injury, but, I don't think she's on anybody's radar for anything right now, even a big return. I'm sure she'll get a huge pop when she does come back.
Well, that's why I was going to ask you, because there were some rumors that, hey, she might be Royal Rumble, and then maybe she comes out, okay, it's Mania season. We don't have a spot for her. She comes back in the week after Mania when you make big returns, and she didn't. So have you heard, is she still injured, or is it we don't know what to do with you?
I have not heard about her injury status, but I'm really wondering, just like Alexa Bliss, I'm going to call her not hot right now just because – sure, she just got married, but she's been ready to roll for quite a while and even dropping hints all over Twitter about, hey, I'm here, use me. But creative seems to have nothing for her.
So she was on my list. Obviously, people thought she's just off because of her wedding, but even before that, she'd been off camera after that weird, send off to the angle that they had with the psychiatrist and all that, and you thought she'd get a character revamp, and they didn't. Reportedly, Doug, she is not happy with her position in the company and wasn't pleased that she was left off WrestleMania. She wasn't off of WrestleMania because of her wedding. She apparently was off WrestleMania because they didn't have anything for her. She was allegedly willing to work anything and pitched ideas, but everything she pitched got shot down, and supposedly she's been very vocal with Vince McMahon concerning her unhappiness with the company.
This is what I've heard as well. But, why is a talent like Alexa Bliss not hot right now?
No reason in the world, particularly when you need legitimate female contenders for your two women's titles, that she's not somewhere in that mix is baffling, quite honestly. Less baffling, I'll go back to hot here. And I'm going to actually link these two together because I think the reason they're both hot is one feeding into the other. But MJF and Wardlow, grouping these together because MJF, obviously the hottest young heel on the mic in the business, but they've told an excellent long-term story. Hey, here's that whole long-term booking thing done right. That's given a huge rub to Wardlow. I wasn't high on Wardlow at first, and I know you weren't either. It's just big guy who didn't seem to have the charisma and or the in-ring talent to hang with the people they were putting him with. But lo and behold, here's MJF, again, hottest young heel in the business, and over time being allowed to develop, Wardlow has shown some really cool, smooth character work, and it's obvious he is in for a big push from management. Wardlow, all elite wrestling is all in on Wardlow.
All in on Wardlow. So here's the thing, man. I was not a big Wardlow fan going in, just like you. And, I thought he was the heater for the Pinnacle. He was MJF's heater. That was his kind of like function there. But I think the story they are telling, especially when you can get the guy over with these Goldberg-esque chants when you're like, yeah, he gets no music, he gets no intro, he's nobody. We're gonna start wrestling him. We're gonna bring him in. The crowd it's so organic how the crowd is being manipulated to get this man over, and I love it. I know I was joking earlier about Papa Khan not being quite the Carney that he should be yet, but then you see stuff like this, which is just straight up brilliant booking.
And it takes two to tango. Wardlow has to hold up his end, and to his credit, for having not shown a lot other than, okay, he looks like he could be a Vince McMahon guy. He's just a big muscle-bound guy who doesn't seem to have any in-ring skills. He's shown good mic work as well as good in-ring work, and he happens to also look like $1 million and somebody who legitimately you should be afraid of against a little tiny chicken heel in MJF. It's playing out to perfection, and the crowd is eating it up so much. I mean, they're begging for Wardlow. Wardlow is going to be a Goldberg slash Lesnar level, like big guy star in All Elite Wrestling.
He absolutely is. But let's just stay in this sphere right now. I know this guy was both on our cut list last week when we were talking about moving people, but let's talk about Shawn Spears. I think his hot or not status is debatable because he's involved. He's in the middle of this angle, but as far as him doing anything other than this, the dude's just treading water. He's spinning his wheels. What are you thinking, man?
I'm thinking he's definitely I think he's hot adjacent.
Hot adjacent, absolutely. I can see that, yeah.
You'd have to put him in the knot because, as you said, he's in the middle of everything but doing very little, and I don't know what his ultimate role would be. Unless they find an actual spot in which to use him, I see him maybe hanging around just to be the guy that's going to get beat up before MJF gets beat.
Yeah, he is taking some of those jackknife power bombs,
which is fine. I mean, that's a great role to be in, but ultimately, long-term future-wise, MJF doesn't need the chairman, and the chairman doesn't have a whole lot to do outside of being fodder here over the next couple of months.
Unfortunately, this is true, man. Unfortunately.
You want a hot or a not, Doug? Who do you have?
Let's see here. Yeah, because I'm kind of just freewheeling Bob Dylan here on my side when we're talking hot or not.
Well, I got a long list. You know me.
You've got a list. That's okay. I've got 3 bullet points on my notes for tonight, and I'm just like winging the rest of this. So I look, and I'm looking at the big two here, what I consider the big two, of course, AEW and WWE. Yeah, and I really have to say pretty much, and this goes back to my cut list last week, everybody that was in the former Hardy family office, now it's the Andrade office or whatever it is. I mean, I think we're just wasting time and effort with everybody there, and those guys just don't have the heat. I mean, the only potential breakout still is Andrade, and I think you're wasting Andrade. Everybody else now who I really, really like, not hot right now, man. Not hot.
No, and I honestly did not really agree with you wanting to cut Andrade because of the talent at stake there. And then I saw him in the main event, and I'm like, okay, he's in the main event of Rampage, so I mean, he's got that going on with Darby Allin. I mean, that's you're in the main event, and then how quickly he was dispatched as if he was nothing in that main event. And I realized that at the very least, I wouldn't cut the man. But he's not hot. He's definitely, whatever reason, the same thing that dogged him in WWE is continuing to dog him in AEW, where he's not seen as a main event player.
He is definitely not seen as a main event player. Just like the chairman, man, just spinning your wheels there in the mid card or less. At least the chairman has something going on. He is hot adjacent right now, but Andrade's got nothing, man, nothing.
I'm going to go another AEW talent, Doug, while we're talking not, because this one also kind of perplexes me a whole heck of a lot. And considering how well he seemed to have a push going, God's favorite champion has just disappeared from television. And I know for a little while it was with a minor injury, but once he dropped the TV title, he's also dropped his stock has dropped like a stone. And I see him in Instagram photos hanging out at Coachella with with Lana, and like he talks to his TV and various straight to DVD movie projects and all this kind of stuff. But as far as a wrestler, this guy is main event level heel brute. And for whatever reason, Rusev is allowed to just walk away for long periods of time, and whatever heat you built up in him is lost. So he's definitely not hot.
Not hot, man. Not hot. Rusev has, I would love to see Rusev v. Joe now, or maybe Khan's got something cooking with, ROH and Rusev. But really, Rusev.
Actually, I like that. I mean, I know that that's just some armchair booking, not based on any like reports or anything, but I think a Rusev reboot in Ring of Honor could be fantastic because
Miro ROH. Let's see it.
Yeah, he's not doing anything on Dynamite or Rampage, and that would make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I like that a lot. Doug, hot. Chris Jericho, the master of reinvention, does it again. I mean, just when you think that you've seen the many faces of Jericho and he's just going to go quietly into the twilight as the legend that he is, the dude finds, abs and a whole new character, and like, boom, it's Jericho.
Just like a bear with 1,000 abs, right? So here's my thing on that, because, I'm struggling with the new JAS, right? This Jericho Appreciation Society. Love the angle, love where it's going. But, other than Daniel Garcia and the mainstay, Cousin Jack, whatever his name is, the Hager kid, former Jack Swagger, I'm struggling to Big Daddy, Magic Daddy, and the other guy. I still to this day can't associate them with Jericho. I'm hoping I get there, but I would call these dudes are hot adjacent, like we're talking about Spears, and they're in a pretty heated angle with Kingston, but I can't remember their names, and that's a problem, man.
I still want to call them like or 2.0.
2.0, yeah.
And then before that in WWE, they were Ever Rise, which was an awful tag team name that I've never been a fan of theirs. And then I'm like, I'm going to give it a chance because Jericho's amazing. And It is amazing. And the whole we're sports entertainer gimmick, I mean, genius. I don't know that they're the ones that are the best fit for this.
I mean, Hager, absolutely. Garcia, sure. A tag team I cannot remember their names, man.
That's bad. That's really bad.
I mean, the one guy's like Magic Daddy, and then there's the skinny dude, right?
Magic Daddy and the skinny dude. I like that name. We should go with that. Magic Daddy and the skinny dude.
We should form a tag team. I'll be Magic Daddy. You be the skinny dude. And there we go.
Or a band. I mean, that would be a great band name too. Magic Daddy and the skinny dude.
Absolutely. I think that's a project I'm working on right now.
Hey, speaking of names, who knows what name he will be using when we see him again? But on the not list, because we've not seen him again, the man took a chance, bet on himself. Where the heck is Cesaro? He should have popped up somewhere in the wrestling world by now.
Well, if Reddit is to be believed, he's been on AEW for months now as a masked cameraman.
Is this a rumor going around that he's the mask?
This is like a legit Reddit thing, man. That will like the really buff camera dude that's always like fully masked. That's Cesaro. Just waiting in the wings to make his AEW debut.
I know Tony likes to play the long game, but without a little bit more action for the cameraman, that might be a little too long.
So here's the theory. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this. Cesaro definitely not hot right now. Claudio
Castagnoli.
Thank you. That dude was going to explode in ROH very soon when Tony relaunches ROH. These are just some armchair booking, but that's where Cesaro is. Cesaro's laying low, waiting for ROH to kick off again, and he's returning to ROH.
You talk about like a kickstarting a main event scene in Ring of Honor when you have Jonathan Gresham coming in as your champion, and then you get acts like if you could get Cesaro to join Joe and Jay Lethal, you would have some of the better upper card talent in the history of Ring of Honor right back in the main event scene. And it would look a little more like Ring of Honor's heyday than the last couple of years of Ring of Honor.
Absolutely. Of course, that's some armchair booking and off to the side, but I totally agree with you. Right now, the superstar formerly known as Cesaro, not hot, man. Not hot. Not.
No, not. But who is? And I know I said that Cody Rhodes is the hottest act in wrestling. I'm going back to hot here, Doug. Maybe the second hottest act in wrestling. And who would have ever thought this? But Wheeler Yuta? I mean, has there been a faster rise in mainstream profile than what this kid has done with being inserted in with the Blackpool Combat Club story? Like, hey, kid, we see something in you. Let's team you up with Steven Regal, Daniel Bryan, and John Moxley. You're already a made man. Like, start cashing checks.
Absolutely, man. Yuta smoking hot. Just by that association with the Blackpool Combat Club, my goodness. I mean, he's burning it up right now. Smoking hot.
And this is one that fans like us, who jaded, like armchair bookers, could really be going, what did they see in him? Why did they put him and not X, Y, and Z? Again, you have to carry the water when you're put in the position. And Yuta has more than lived up to his end of like, okay, now we, the fans sitting here, can't complain about it because it's apparent on our TV screen. We see it too in the work that the man has done.
I mean, if you have to ask why him, I refer you back to Moxley versus Yuta. That's why. That is exactly why.
Yep.
But sticking with that, let's talk about Not Hot right now. What happened to the Best Friends? What happened to that whole collective there? That went a little too comedy and just kind of fizzled out. You've got the Best Friends doing I'm not sure what. You've got Danhausen, who is associated with, who is trying to get a program started with Hook. Unless you mess with Hook's potato chips, he does not care. and even Orange Cassidy seems to have some sort of injury right now. It's just that they're fizzling on the sidelines.
They are definitely on the sidelines, and this really relates back. And folks, if you haven't seen it, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, as always, we point you to the archives. All the old shows are there, but we talked about all of the airtime that is needed to put the talents that Tony Khan has on TV. He doesn't have it. And that means that for long stretches of time, folks that were previously hot slip into the not category and disappear from our screens for a while. So right now, I guess the Best Friends storyline or team as it is being carried by Danhausen, and everyone else, there's just not enough room. So
Danhausen.
You're gone.
I mean, that's a great guy to carry you. But again, I go back to I'm really not big on the comedy shtick, but
first time I saw Danhausen was actually in person. I'd never seen the gimmick before, and I had one of my wrestling friends that was there trying to explain to me what was happening. And he's doing like his Pee Wee Herman dance, and he had like a jar full of teeth that he would bring out, and he would wave around. I mean, I wasn't sure. I can't say that I wasn't entertained, but I'm not sure like I saw long-term potential in the gimmick.
Very evil, very nice.
Very evil, very nice. Love the catchphrase too, quite honestly.
Right? I mean, got a lot going for him, but like you said, I think Danhausen is carrying the Best Friends stable at this point.
Yeah, they're gone. And speaking of gone much farther than I would have ever expected, folks. You want us to hear the two bros talking about this next person and where we thought that she would end up. You have to go way back in the archives. I'm talking like a year and a half back in the archives when we were speculating on where Tessa Blanchard was going to land. Tessa Blanchard has landed nowhere. We're talking one of the hottest female talents in the business a couple of years ago when she was the Impact Women's World Champion. And it seemed at the time, Doug, the sky's the limit. When she had a falling out with Impact, and yes, rumors of backstage problems and behavioral issues, those sorts of things, my goodness, if we got rid of every wrestler, male or female, that had a backstage issue with someone, there'd be no one left to watch on our televisions probably. So all can be forgiven pretty quickly when the talent is there. No one's taking a chance on Tessa Blanchard. I don't know if she's just fine with her situation as it is, but you talk about not hot, someone who could have took the wrestling world by storm and then just didn't.
not only was she Impact Women's World Champion, she was Impact Champion.
yeah. She was Impact in general. She was on the show half of the 2-hour runtime. She would be in a segment on that show, and she's nowhere. I guess
Nowhere.
maybe some. I mean, I guess she still wrestles independent or occasionally in Mexico, but that's it. Surprising.
A lot of heat there.
Yeah,
It's kind of weird for somebody to just drop like that, to be so hot and then just go from this super hot heat to not necessarily go away heat, but nobody wants to touch you heat.
Yeah, nobody wants to touch you heat. Actually, I'm going to do another knot because it's just too good of a transition and no one wants to touch you heat. But it goes without saying, Nash Carter, not hot. But we have to, unfortunately, put the very talented Wes Lee on the not hot list, because when here's the risk in being in a tag team. Mm-hmm. If something happens with your partner, be it injury, attitude issues, in a case like this, they get released, your fate and push is tied to theirs. So poor Wes Lee is sitting here with his former MSK / Rascals partner released, and now what is he? And where does he go?
Yeah.
So it on his push.
What is he? Where does he go from here? I mean, I don't. We'll see.
We will see. On the hot side, though, Doug, this one is also surprising in the fact that it at first seemed like a short-term booking arrangement. It's a makeshift tag team by all accounts at the start, and yet we're more than a year down the road. Not only do they survive Mania, they're still popular and going strong, but RK Bro, the love fest that is RK Bro, they're like the WWE version of Best Friends, except treated like a big deal. And they're hot, man. RK Bro is hot. The fans are hot for them. There's no reason to take the belts off a team that has kept Randy Orton so engaged, and Riddle his own great self on the bump the other day on 420, wishing everyone a happy holidays. Just, being all exactly right.
But here's what's going to happen. They're going to lose those belts. Randy's going to turn on Riddle, and it's going to be great when it does happen. For they're going to get 1 or 2 pay-per-views out of it, and then it will be over though. But yeah, they are hot right now, man. But I do see, like I called earlier, I do see the Bloodline, the Usos, uniting those tag team titles. Randy snapping at some point after that, and the Love Fest ending, because that's just the way. Yeah,
obviously it is good long-term booking, though. It's been more than a year. We just really thought they were 2 guys that didn't seem to have a lot in common thrown together, and they've been incredibly entertaining. Do you think they've kept it on them post-Mania to get to this moment where they can lose to the Usos and then maybe start to break up? Because we all kind of thought there was a good chance that Riddle-Orton could be penciled in for Mania, and then they just kept winning.
So here's the thing. I was reading just today that Vince McMahon thinks many of his superstars are miscast at this point, and there have been corrections recently to this miscasting or what he has in his mind. I think Rhea Ripley being a face and doing a heel turn, and Xia Li making not a debut, but making she's rarely seen on SmackDown. Then she shows up and does this heel to face turn this week, or face to heel turn. I think we're going to see Randy Orton, who is miscast in Vince McMahon's eyes as a babyface. He is going back to a heel soon, and this is the perfect way to do that. To realign things and do a full reset in Vince McMahon's mind of who should be cast as a heel, who should be cast as a babyface. If we're being honest, Randy Orton is a heel. He excels in the role. He's having fun right now, but he's miscast. And I think this does come to an end soon. But right now, you're right, man. They are hot.
Well, you talk about miscasting. This is a good segue into the not category, because they've been cast as the lovable, goofy face, fodder in a lot of storylines in the past. But, man, War Machine, because Viking Raiders is just a dumb name. But could it get any less hot than where the poor Viking Raiders were? They were featured as possible title contenders prior to WrestleMania. We thought we were going to get them in that multi-team WrestleMania match, and instead, not only have they mostly disappeared, the last time I saw them on TV, they lost 2-on-1 Omos beat the two of them. That shows what management thinks of the Viking Raiders.
Here's the thing, man. There are super hot tag teams to come out of NXT in the past. You've got the Ascension. You've got War Raiders, Viking Raiders, War Machines, whatever you want to call them. Authors of Pain. Super hot tag teams that come up and then they just straight up fizzle. I don't know why attention gets lost on them. They just let them fizzle. They make them jobbers like this. I mean, and a great
jobbers, 2-on-1 jobbers. No one man, I don't care how tall he is. That always bothered me with WWE's booking. No one man should be able to beat two superstars, and then those same two superstars be taken seriously. Exactly. Giant would beat 5 guys, but they were all jobbers. That was different. Do it against someone like the Viking Raiders, and you've spoiled them. They cannot be considered a legitimate tag team for anybody. Can they?
I don't know if it's like a thing with NXT stars, but my old man brain is starting to churn right now because I think about Ricochet and Finn Balor too. These dudes smoking hot in NXT. You bring them up, you give them this glimmer of hope, and then you let them fizzle. I mean, what is either one of these guys doing right now, other than putting over Austin Theory?
Well, I was going to say,
Theory.
Yeah, I mean, Finn was a recent champion. And Rick, and so is Ricochet's the Intercontinental Champion, but they're not being featured as big deals.
Yeah.
Do you see that changing once we, now that we're down to, and not just them, but the titles? Do you think that if you're down to one world champion, shouldn't those secondary titles now just by association be the top titles on their individual brands, and that maybe we could make those a bigger deal? Instead of them taking a back seat?
They absolutely should, but I think that right now, just by the fact that we're 2 weeks away from WrestleMania Backlash and we have no idea what's even going on with Roman Reigns, I'm not sure that
So they should, but they won't.
They should, but they won't. That's what I'm calling it. Yeah, the mid-card titles not hot.
Not hot. That's true. Not hot. Any secondary titles in WWE not hot. You mentioned NXT, Doug. I'm going to go to an obvious one off that NXT brand for a hot list, but Brum Breaker. An entire brand is being built around this man, and he's doing his part to carry that brand. Obviously, Brum Breaker hot.
Obviously, just call him a Steiner, please.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I like him, like Daddy Steiner being kidnapped and that whole angle, But, I mean, they're still featuring him. There's no doubt about it. The company sees a lot in him. He is doing everything to reward that faith. There's no reason to think that he's going to be anything other than a big star. And just for the sake of time, Doug, I'm going to throw in another hot because I relate them. It's a lesser extent than Brum Breaker, but on the female side in NXT, she's not the champion, but Cora Jade is the next page. She is the 2.0 women's division. It seems to be being built around her. For a very young woman, she is showing incredible confidence on the microphone and is just smooth as silk in the ring. Cora Jade is hot.
So is that the super young chick that has almost like the Darby Allin gimmick? Because that's what I associate that one girl with, like the skater.
If you think the Darby Allin gimmick is just the skateboard, then yes.
Okay, yeah, that's all I'm thinking. The Darby Allin gimmick.
She does come to the ring with a skateboard. Yeah, she does skateboard to the ring, but she is incredibly hot, and the crowd seems to be invested in her.
All right, I really do need to give it the super colorful Jackson Pollock NXT another chance. This grumpy old man is stuck to his black and gold.
You will see that at least Shawn Michaels is carrying Triple H's legacy of sustained pushes and booking that just makes sense, more so than what we see sometimes on the main roster side. To which, Doug, not hot.
Not hot.
Have you seen Shotzi?
I have not seen Shotzi in a while, actually.
Exactly. She's not hurt.
Yeah.
Where's Shotzi?
Yeah.
You said it earlier. What happens to these NXT talents? So unique. They see enough in her to promote her to the main roster. And so oftentimes, as we see happen, it's the kiss of death for these NXT talents. Don't call me up to the main roster because you're going to do nothing with me.
Right? Wasn't it Ciampa that said, he would, fully resist an NXT call or a call up from NXT, yet now he's in some like weird transitional thing. I'm not sure if we can call Tommaso Ciampa hot right now.
Well, Tommaso Ciampa is on my list of not hot. Honestly, fish out of water. Too old for NXT, but not the type of guy Vince is going to see as a major league talent over on Raw. So he's in some backstage segments. He's going to be the new Drew Gulak or something, or he's going to be one of those undersized guys who are really talented that'll be backstage and get beat up or say a few things on the mic or comedy when needed, but he's not going to be considered a major player, and he's too old for the new version of NXT. So he is literally the definition of not hot, as a fish completely out of water. He's going to have to go somewhere else.
Let's put the Blackheart in a suit, trim that beard, and let him start doing like interviews. No, thank you.
Yeah,
there's a place for you in ROH, my friend.
Exactly, and that's where you're going to see, Tommaso Ciampa, if he's going to ever be back on top again. Because right now he's not hot, and there's no chance for him to get hot in the environment he was in. Johnny might have saw the writing on the wall. Tommaso, good soldier, helped put the young talent over. Now I get my call up, my reward, but there's no gold at the end of that rainbow for these undersized guys on Raw and SmackDown when you're already in your mid to late 30s.
So really, we can say NXT call-ups, not hot. Overall, when you get that call-up, not hot.
No, and in some ways, he's that legacy NXT call-up. There's not been a whole lot of the 2.0. Let's see if they fare any better, considering they're these younger folks that Vince thinks that are, we need to be creating more stars, because it's true. They didn't create enough stars from NXT, the original version. But I don't think that's on NXT. I think it's on the Raw SmackDown side.
But they had the talent, to bring in talent from the indies to create a brand around that and build a brand around and then elevate them up, but then just kind of smack them down, for lack of a better word.
But I mean, that gets blamed to put at Triple H's feet, and then if NXT's a failure, we're going to try a new approach because we're not creating stars. That's not on Triple H or what NXT was doing. It was on how these stars were treated when they got to the main roster, given new names, dumb gimmicks,
Butch,
no gimmick, exactly. So if that's the way they'll still be treated, the 2.0 men and women won't fare any better. Grumpy old men. Back to someone who was recast in a very positive manner. Damian Priest was not a face. Damian Priest is a heel. He looks like a heel. He has the size and look of a heel. Much better now. Put as a great fit for Edge's new faction.
Edge's House of Purple.
Edge's House of Purple, man. I like it. I think that this is Damian Priest. There'll be more for Damian Priest to do in this role, and he will benefit from Edge's experience. I think this is good for everyone all around. I'm going to call Damian Priest hot right now.
I like Priest. I like Punishment Martinez. I think he could really pull off that like cool heel, that cool tweener. He's not going to be a babyface. He can be that cool Razor Ramon kind of tweener. He can be the bad guy but still get over. But a full-on heel is much better for him, man.
How about Drew McIntyre? Hot or not? Because I
got him right now, man. Not hot.
And I know they did something for him to keep him on Mania, and they gave him the feel-good win over Happy Corbin and all that. But you talk about just a fall from grace. You were world title level not that long ago, and this is what you're doing week to week. And honestly, right now that the Happy Corbin thing's kind of winding down, or maybe already over, like, what's Drew doing?
What is Drew doing?
Hot. Not hot.
Not hot. He's feuding with Sammy. Who already said, I get that Sammy's, Mr. Comedy now. Sammy's like the Santino Marella of SmackDown at this point.
The Santino Marella SmackDown. That says it all. No offense, Santino, but
Santino. There's a place for everybody in wrestling. I mean, wrestling needs that comedy slot. Just not my thing, but yeah.
How about Hernandez and Ortiz? I have them on my list as hot or not. Which do you think that they fall under?
Huh. You know what? I I'm kind of neutral to them right now, man. I'm waiting to see what happens next.
To me, it just seems like in this whole fallout of Inner Circle, and like they're just in the background of all this. And
you know, you had an LAX coming in, proud and powerful. You know, you had a lot of heat there coming in, and they've just kind of fizzled, kind of like an Andrade kind of situation where at least they were more prominent within the Inner Circle, but you know, they should have had those tag titles a long time ago.
They should have been in the middle of some feuds with the Bucks. They should have been in the middle of, you know, honestly, they should have been in the middle of feuds with a Death Triangle. I mean, you could just go on. And then when they had that great memorable feud with Best Friends, but they never elevated them up to that tag team title scene. I'm like you. It makes no sense that they haven't been around that scene more.
And while we're talking about tag titles, let's talk about the AEW tag titles. I'm saying not hot because they are the most least important tag title in AEW right now. You got ROH and the AAA tag titles and the AEW tag titles. The AEW tag titles seem to be an afterthought right now, so I'm going to call them not hot.
You know, I almost had it as a botch a couple of weeks ago. Poor JR, and I thought this is a bad mistake on the announcer's part. But FTR comes to the ring and he says, "This is the best tag team in the world here. How can you dispute it? They got, you know, the ROH titles and I'm thinking, but JR, that they're not the champions of your actual product that you're calling." Yeah. But honestly, you could say it's a slip of the tongue that he might have got called out for afterwards, but he ain't wrong.
No, exactly. I mean, those tag titles are an afterthought right now.
And they're definitely the ROH Triple H titles being held by FTR. The Triple H titles. I did say the Triple H title. I can't call JR out for a slip of the tongue, but I do think he was correct in the fact that FTR is the best tag team in the world. By the way they're being presented here. They're being presented as a bigger deal, and he's calling what he sees instead of what he should be booked to say, and made that slip of the tongue. Doug, I'm going to, for the sake of time, group these next two together, but I know you don't see as much MLW, but Alexander Hammerstone and Richard Holiday are telling an amazing story that actually goes back so far that MJF was involved. That's how long ago this has been. And they're telling this story where this slow turn finally happens and the one friend turns against the other friend. And now the world title's involved, and Hammerstone and Holiday both would make excellent additions to either WWE or AEW. That's how polished and ready both of these guys are. And they're telling this on the hottest indie promotion going right now. Both those men way hot and are ready for their next steps, whatever those next steps may be. Not hot, Doug. I'll put her along with Shotzi. What's Nikki doing? Nikki ASH, other than she got a bad gimmick and then went off the rails after that and went from, you know, maybe being in the sort of tangible title picture and some three ways with Charlotte and back in the day to now literally nothing.
Nothing. I don't know. Was she involved in like a comedy bit with like the 24/7 kids?
Yes.
You know, recently, and I think that's where she lives now in the 24/7 comedy zone.
And then that pretty much the definition of not hot. If you're in that zone, or aren't you pretty much done? I mean, really?
Unless you're R-Truth, man, who, you know, to this day I'm going to call smoking hot, but just because he's R-Truth, he can make it work regardless.
Regardless of angle and age, somehow he's owning that and still got a job. You're right.
Absolutely.
Defying the odds. Good on you, R-Truth.
Absolutely.
Doug, hot. Nikita Lyons, the most unique and charismatic new female superstar in any wrestling promotion right now. And the internet and wrestling fans cannot get enough of her. They're ready for her to move next level. I hope she doesn't, because I don't know that it'll ultimately be good for her. But right now, Nikita Lyons is skyrocketing.
Nikita Lyons, thanks to you, the only WWE superstar I follow on Instagram.
The NXT, yeah, you mean NXT?
No, I mean only WWE superstar.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm very selective about the celebrities I follow on my IG. But yeah,
she's something else. And I mean, she's going to make it. I don't see how she doesn't.
I don't know. Well, she can always fall back on her singing career too. So there's that.
Just unique. Just the whole presentation is very unique and is taking off organically, like you were talking earlier. That organic face that face push.
Yeah.
Arn Anderson, not hot, man. He's admitted in interviews that he is adrift and he's kind of like a out of place now that Cody has left. And so I know that he's Brock's dad and coach and all this, but Brock's not to the level yet that's going to carry the character. So Arn's kind of in no man's land, really.
And really, do you think that extends to with Cody leaving the entire factory?
Absolutely.
Because that QT Marshall, and Cody have the factory, Nightmare Factory at one point, but it's the factory, it's their training center. So where does that go? Not hot. Not hot with Papa Khan right now, I'm sure.
Got a few others here. I know we're getting close to time, but Roxanne Perez, the former Ring of Honor Women's Champion as Roxy. I saw her wrestle once on Level Up, which is I think I joked last week, it's pretty much NXT 3.0 before you get to the 2.0, and within a week she's already getting vignettes about coming soon, and then gets called out, has her first match over there, and then in that first match beats one half of the current tag team champions. So they see what Ring of Honor saw in a 19-year-old who's now 20, but way young, way advanced for her age, and is going to be a big star. The Creed brothers, also extremely hot. They are NXT 2.0's tag team division. They are the new Varsity Club, legit amateur wrestlers who have made that transition successfully to being, good in-ring performers. And they are pretty much at the center of everything that's happening in the tag team division. And then I will give another shout hot to the current NXT tag team champions, Pretty Deadly. They dominated NXT UK. They moved over to NXT 2.0, and in their very first night on the brand, won the tag team championships. So MSK's fall from grace is worked out pretty well for the switch from UK to NXT for Pretty Deadly. Definitely, they and the Creed brothers are going to feud over those titles. Both those teams smoking hot.
Again, I'm not too familiar with the product, but I trust your wrestling knowledge, so sounds good to me, man.
I got one not and one hot, Doug.
Let's wrap it up with your not and hot then.
All right. The one hot, Josh Alexander, once part of one of the best tag teams in the business. Ethan Page moves on to AEW. You wonder what happens to Josh Alexander. All that happens is he's pretty much the hottest face on all of Impact Wrestling and is in the world title scene and will be world champion if he's not already. I think they had a pay-per-view tonight. He is. See, he's hot. He's smoking hot.
The walking weapon is the new Impact champion. Spoilers, everybody.
He is fantastic in the ring and well deserving of that honor. Definitely hot. Somebody who is also deserving of that honor. And as my last not, Pac, man. When it comes to Death Triangle, Phoenix is recovering from injury. Penta is featured regularly. Pac, however, is vanished. What's up?
But this happens to Pac all the time.
But it's hard to get behind him
for like months on end.
Which, you can't just be hot and cold. You're either up or you're down. And when you disappear for long periods of time, you're not going to be in that long-term booking. You're not going to be the guy they put the belt on. You're not going to be the guy they build around. And I know that was at one point one of his complaints in WWE is that they didn't sustain any momentum behind him. And he goes over to AEW and then just, takes 4 or 5 months vacations and then pops back up randomly.
He really does. It's like, oh, I'm stuck, quarantine. I'm in Britain for like months on end. I'm not sure where he is right now.
Exactly. Who knows?
But he leaves in some sort of like bizarro like horror film, like B-movie horror film gimmick right now. But which I'll call one more not hot. That whole gimmick with Penta and Alex Abrahantes. Not hot, man.
You mean cosplay Dracula? Oh, not hot. Doug, and with that was a lot of fun. Old men going on rants as to how we would book the wrestling world, but who's hot, who's not, folks, let us know. Anybody we missed, anybody you disagree with. If you think that Dracula gimmick is the coolest thing on wrestling right now, let us know that we're wrong and that you want to see more of Alex hiding behind plastic tombstones in the comments. With that, Doug, let's get to that big finish.
Let's do it. Big finish. These are where my notes always are. Big finish.
You want to go? I've done a lot of talking off my notes. Let's let you hit what you want first. You go botch.
Let me hit the botch first this week. This is not necessarily anything that aired on any wrestling television this week, but this is a call out to, all of us in the internet wrestling community. As I saw a story today about the former Wyatt family, right? The former Wyatt family, the members that are still alive, you've got Braun Strowman, what's his name? Alex, I don't know, sure, Billy Bob Sure, whatever his name is, Titan. You got him. You have Rotunda, and you have Eric Redbeard show up at a event, a wrestling event. It's not a promotional thing. They're not like wrestling or anything like that. It was just like a meet and greet kind of like convention or something like that.
Cons.
Yeah, somebody takes a picture of the three of them together with, they're doing like the Four Horsemen down thing, instead of the Four Horsemen up. Immediately, the wrestling world, internet wrestling community explodes that, the Wyatt family is regrouping under a new stable of the Apocalypse, of Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. No, they're not. They are not. We want it to happen, sure, but they are not. This is a botch for us. We got to reel ourselves back in and stop this. I mean, speculation, it runs wild. It's what we do. It's what we do for an hour every Sunday night or other nights sometimes. There are hundreds of other shows just like ours that do this. Reddit threads. Stop it. We got to reel ourselves back in. They're not, these were three guys that used to work together, that were at a convention together. Shatner and, a couple other surviving members of the original Star Trek get together at a convention. It doesn't mean they're starting a new series or there's a new movie that's about to take off with the original crew of Star Trek. We got to stop this. That's why I'm calling a botch this week, man.
No, I hope that we do.
Adam Sure, that's his name. Titan, Adam Sure.
I hope we do a good job of reporting news and then our armchair booking and speculation and try to keep those things separate, because you're right. That is what we all do. And yes, we all want it. We sit here all the time and like, oh, here's some armchair booking. Here's what I'd like to see. That's a whole different thing than reporting it as fact. And I got fooled this week seeing headlines that like, oh wow, what's Bray Wyatt doing? When's he returning? And then you read it and realize there ain't anything there really. But it's being reported as if it's already a done deal.
When Meltzer says it's a done deal, sure. When Meltzer says he's talking to somebody, that's a pretty credible source. When Meltzer says, yeah, his asking price is too high for anybody right now because he's happy doing horror films and he's going to show up at a con every once in a while. I'm sure that, Titan, the former Braun Strowman is going to use any kind of heat that he can get off of Wyndham Rotunda right now to promote the Control Your Narrative promotion. But that's as far as it goes, man.
Yep. Not a good look to be over reporting as if it's a done deal when we're just speculating as fans. Yeah. My botch, that dual wedding. I know we did a show about weddings, Doug, and we mentioned very, very clearly that there are some really memorable ones, and then there are the hundreds and hundreds of copycats that didn't need to exist that just follow a rote formula of hitting every little laugh line, formula, and don't get anybody over. And the crowd, crapped all over that double wedding on Raw this past week. And then, of course, the punchline being that, oh, it's all really about the 24/7 title, which in and of itself is a joke that's not been funny since the night they introduced it. So you combine those two things, you get a really awful segment with a lot of talented people that deserve better involved in it. And that's my botch of the week.
I do not disagree with that, man. I mean, again, God, I sound like some grumpy old man. Well, I am, so.
You are.
But, I just don't get, the comedy bits aren't my thing. They're just not. And and I feel bad for folks who, I mean, hey, they're still getting paid, but I don't know, whatever, man, whatever.
How about your performer of the week?
Man, let me tell you, for his Dynamite debut, I mean, against I think what could be looked at as a jobber. I mean, we had Hook coming out, his Dynamite debut wins quickly, but Hook gets my performer of the week with his interactions with Danhausen afterwards. When Hook, this is a kid who already is so in tune with his character, almost like MJF, but yet like the anti-MJF, who does not talk, who does not say a lot, who does not need to say a lot, because that hard camera look through that mess of hair right at the hard camera, that, are you serious? This is what I've got to deal with? Look. This kid knows his character. This kid is going to go places. And for that look alone, Hook, my performer of the week.
And great call out, dude, because I actually had meant to put him on the hot list because it's obvious that AEW is hot on Hook, all in on Hook. And for amazing work that we've seen already, they have every reason to be in on it, high on him. They also showed restraint in having all of this happen mainly on Rampage and backstage segments. And the kid just now made his debut on Dynamite in the ring. I mean, they didn't hotshot that. They took time with that. And what we're seeing is a superstar in the making because they're booking him the right way. Totally agree with you on there. I'm going actually for comedy because typically comedy is not my bag either, but my performer of the week, just because he does it so well, KO. I mean, being the only one who actually can see that Ezekiel is really Elias and no one else going along with it, and him just getting more and more exasperated by the fact he's the only one that can see it, has been hilarious. Hilarious.
Speaking of comedy,
I see that third hand coming up out from your back there.
What you doing, buddy?
Gonna cut out a quick piece of paper.
Gonna cut out a quick piece of paper? Okay. So, match of the week, what you got?
My match of the week, Doug, Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams versus Santos Escobar for the North American Championship over on NXT 2.0. I've called out Escobar for years now. The work he did back in the day with Swerve Strickland, incredible, underrated, and he continues to shine in the new environment of 2.0. Carmelo Hayes, another kid who is wise beyond his years, shows talent beyond his years. Great match, worth checking out. Anyone who didn't see NXT 2.0, which I know includes Doug.
Yes, this is true. This is true. You come back through? Okay.
Doug, your match of the week.
For me, match of this week, I really, really enjoy this Kyle O'Reilly Jungle Boy match because what it does is propel, not necessarily for a lot of in-ring action, although the in-ring action between these two, great in-ring action. Kyle O'Reilly gets the win, advances in the Owen Hart tournament. But, they're telling a longer story here that I can already see because, Jungle Boy doesn't get the job done here. Christian Cage comes out. It's just going to be a matter of time before, those tag team belts that we're talking about that aren't that important, are going to be important again, and they're not going to be important on like Jurassic Express. Jurassic Express is going to start to fall apart. I can see Christian Cage turning on Jungle Boy. That's where the heat's going to be there, and it slowly plants the seeds of that this week, while at the same time putting the Undisputed Elite, forward in this tag team, or not the tag team, but this Owen Hart tournament, because we're eventually going to see the Undisputed Elite going against each other. So, for the storytelling aspects alone, and the in-ring work was great too. But
I mean, look who's involved,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Great match. Definitely, if you missed that match of the week, folks, or Doug's match of the week, or my match of the week, those are two you absolutely have to catch. And thank you for catching the Two Bros Wrestling Show as we talked hot or not tonight in our main event topic. As you can see in the scroll, we have all of our upcoming shows down there listed. Doug, we're about ready to go on a journey for the next few weeks of WrestleMania Backlash, starting next week at 8 o'clock Eastern Time here on Facebook, and also over later on our YouTube channel if you watch us on replay. Join us for our preview of WrestleMania Backwash. WrestleMania Backlash, which should just be Backlash. Can we say that's not hot to use WrestleMania as a title after WrestleMania?
Not hot.
Not hot.
Not hot.
Thanks, folks, for joining us.
Thank
Kevin,
you. Good night, everybody.